This is my latest cuckoo clock. It's my first musical cuckoo clock. It's a Hubert Herr, probably, built in the around 1960 to 70, somewhere in there. The hand was broken. I made a little replacement hand. They sent me the bottom part and the top part, so I glued it on another one that I had that was broken and made a whole hand out of it. I've got to order a new set of hands for this, but it's totally bone dry inside. I adjusted the music box and the cuckoo so that it would go off, and it's been running. No problem with it running, but it's time to take it apart and clean it and oil it and take care of it. I don't know what that little tune is. I like the little tune, but I have no idea what it is. But anyway, we're going to break this down, take it apart, clean it, oil it, put it back together. So after you remove the pendulum, take the top off, put it somewhere safe. Hands. The one I had that I used was a round hole. Need a square hole for Hubert Herr for the minute hand. So I used the base of the little broken stub they sent me, and for some reason they included that in the shipping too, but no middle piece. So I glued the round backed one I had to the square one so that it would fit. And then I just put the tip on it just so it would have a tip, but I'll be getting a new one. Okay, let's undo our door. It's very tight, the little hole they left for the man's wire to go in. And this, I believe, needs to be adjusted up. It's about to hit the bottom of the door. So anyway, we'll do that when we put it back together. Okay. And you've got these little door closers. It's not in very good. Alright, so I use a roll of masking tape, or I have a PVC thing I set clocks on to not damage the face. Got a nice little movement. It's a tiny little clock. I mean, to get your hands in here and work, it's amazing what they fit in this little tiny box. The bevelos are leather. I haven't recovered them. I mean, I think they're original. I feel like the clock wasn't used a whole lot. It was stored somewhere good because it stayed in good shape. But I think I got this for about $45 if I remember right from Canada. An eBay auction or a Goodwill auction, Goodwill finds, I'm not sure. I guess they don't have Goodwill up there maybe, so it must have been eBay. But I've gotten clocks from eBay that have been not very well cared for. The Cuckoo Quail George Cool clock that I really wanted was the one that's given me the most work because it had fallen off the wall who knows how many times. I didn't have it hanging right. The hole in the back was stripped, and it didn't have a topper, and it didn't have a pendulum. Like I spent so much replacing missing parts that it taught me it's worth paying a little bit more to find one with the original pendulum, with the bellows still intact, with, you know, even if they need to be recovered, if you have the top and the bottom, like you've got everything you need for the bellows, it's hard to match the color of a painted one as far as what color pendulum leaf you need, the weight of it. Like there's so many nuances. So for me, what I'll be looking for is nobody's been in there messing around. They've got original parts to them, and it's worth paying extra because you're going to pay that and then some trying to replace the missing parts on one that's not been cared for well. Alright, I'm going to get these chains off and then I'll turn the video back on. Pendulum. Maybe. It's never been opened, you can tell that. My tool's a little rusty because this is one I found out in the yard I had lost while I was working on our solar powered gate. I found it this winter, so it's a little rusty, but let me get a different screwdriver to get this pendulum off and the bellows out. So this is the movement with everything out of the way. I'll show you a couple of things. It's got a top mounted music box. It's on a flat plate that slides out. When I got it, it was not playing the music or cuckooing right because this little wire was not in this little bend right here. This is a little U-shaped wire, and this is on the cuckoo bird. When the cuckoo bird goes out, it pushes this over, holds your fan from turning, keeps your music from playing. It also gets tripped right here to activate your music. That stops it from playing. Cuckoo bird comes in, this moves back over, and your music plays at the end. So a couple of things: you need to adjust this wire right so that it's just stopping your fan from turning, but not too far over, because that'll keep your cuckoo bird from being able to shut off. If you got a cuckoo bird that keeps going on, doesn't turn off, this is why. So bend your wire a little bit where it's barely stopping your fan. And then if your music won't shut off or come on, that's this lever here. It's got to have a little gap at the end right here. This bar trips this wire and it's bent on the end, but it can't be right up to the end of it or it won't shut off. So it's got to have some room to pull it and be able to come back from it. And then when that happens, this governor pulls a pin out right here, down here, which I'll show you later when I get the music box out. Pulls the little pin out of the wheel of the music box, and then this is holding it. When the cuckoo bird's done, that goes out of the way and this starts turning. So anyway, this movement is just like you see it. It's super clean. I'm going to clean it just because this was sticking a little bit. My cuckoo bird was kind of going in and out, and this is what does that. So it should go up and hold your cuckoo bird out while your cuckoo bird's cuckooing. So I'll take this out. I'm going to clean it, oil everything. Check out the music box. This ratchet is a little bit wobbly and noisy when you wind it. See how much play I've got? I don't know. My hand's probably in the way, but when you wind it, it makes a lot of racket. This is moving around, so I've got to check out and see why it's so loose. Also, this plate was not slid forward all the way when I got it, maybe from shipping. So there's very little extra room in there. The chain from there comes right down the front of this movement, so if it slid back a little bit, it's going to rub and make a hole in your bellows. So make sure it's down all the way on a top mounted music box. Alright, I'm going to take this apart. The movement looks to be in good shape. Guess I could put it on the camera, it would help. The bird holds off the music by this wire, which is on your lift lever here. So if I put pressure, this comes out, your bird's on there, he stays out while this counts off, pops back in at the end. It's sticking some. When I hit that, it's not letting my rack fall down onto the snail. Also, that just now fell down, but it wasn't down. That has to stay down to keep your bird out. So it needs a little cleaning. My bird is out, but it is not lifting. And I don't see that it's touching. The rack is free. Why isn't my arm going up? That should make it go. Nope, that makes it go because of the music box. So this, when this minute hand turns, this gets pushed up, and that's what starts everything. So that lets it fall down. It's still not going though. Helps if I turn it the right way. Alright, so this is working good. So I just need a little clean and lube, but nothing needs to be adjusted on this. Now, on the music box, there are a couple of things. So this mounts upside down. The little guy goes to the front. one thing I noticed when I took this out, there's a little tiny nail right here and a little tiny bit of wire on it, and I said, what's supposed to be on that? Well, apparently this wire right here, the end of it broke off. It was supposed to be secured to that, so I'm going to have to rewire. I've got some fine wire, but I don't know if I have any that fine, but anyway, I will reattach that to that. It snaps back plenty tight without it being attached. That's what it's for, is to make it snap down into that cam and shut off your music. But we're going to reattach that. And then the other thing that I noticed, this spring is not attached to anything. That's what starts your music happening. Remember, this is inside this. So when this gets pulled over, this little piece right there comes out of this drum wheel. And then your music is ready to play. But this spring should be in this hole to hold it down into the drum wheel. It's come out of the hole and just kind of slid down to where there's a notch right there. So I guess it's lucky that there was a notch. But anyway, we'll put the spring back up on there. We'll put that spring, reattach it there. Other than that, it seems to be doing well. There's a tiny little plastic wheel right here. Sometimes those crack and will make a lot of noise when your music's playing, but this one seems to be intact. It's very loose, like I said, as far as winding the ratchet, and I looked and there's just a spring on the top with a C-clip. So it's supposed to be flexible enough that when you turn it, let me get it around where you can see it. There's a little piece right here raised up, and that's what backs up and goes forward with your weight on it. So when the weight's on it, makes the music play. Going backwards, that's your click. So it does sound different than a regular one because there's not the same spring system as is on these. So that appears to be okay. So I need to fix that, and then everything else seems to be doing all right. You'll notice when it first comes out, it kind of stays out, so I'm wondering if that's because that little spring is not in the right place. This is a tiny little spring. Alright, let's try that. Snaps in there nicely, but it's still, when it first comes out, it's way out. This little arm on the end of this bar should be resting on this raised area on the side of your wheel. You can see how it just snapped onto it. It's coming out too far initially, but it's still playing normally. One more time. Y'all leave me some comments as to what that song is, if anybody knows German nursery rhymes. If this piece stayed sticking out, it wouldn't snap into the hole, or if it comes out and goes right back in the hole, this is the arm that you adjust to make your music play correctly. Alright, off to the cleaning. This is a Hubert Herr movement. Freiburg, Germany, unadjusted and no jewels. There's a couple of things about Hubert Herr movements when you're setting them up. Your gong goes on a pin by itself. So there's a wheel down here with the pins. With the regular movement, that's on the outside, but with the Hubert Herr's, it's on the inside of the movement. So your gong goes on one pin, and your other two arms, both your bellows, your short and your long, go on the same pin. And the length of the arm inside there makes them fall off at different times. So, gong, cuckoo. Okay, the other thing is with your rack and snail, you want to make sure that this is not bent. This piece needs to be flat at 90 degrees right here. The piece that hits the snail needs to be flat. It needs to fall down on it all the way. The mechanism that trips everything is underneath this. There are two cams. There's a wheel at the very bottom of this minute arbor that's got a long cam and a short cam. The short cam trips the half hour when it comes around. Let me get the cycle finished and we'll do it. Okay, that was the hour. So as your hands turn, it goes into warning. It drops down one time for the half hour. And then for the hour, it should hit flat on this surface. Sometimes it'll get bent and it'll fall behind it, and then your cuckoo will keep on cuckooing forever. Alright, there's warning. And it falls down. So as this gets smaller, it cuckoos more times. It lets this arm fall farther down, more little steps for this little pin right here to count its way back up. So what you need to do when you are setting it up for 12 o'clock, let me get around to there. 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock is the most important time on these. That's the half hour. I've got my fingers in the way. Okay, here's the hour. It should be 12 o'clock. See where it falls? No, you can't because I don't have the camera adjusted right. The flat black piece fell right at the beginning of this flat 12 o'clock piece. This is 11 o'clock. Boom, this is 12 o'clock. You want it all the way over to the right. You want it to have time as it's turning to climb that hill. Because if you don't, it's going to lock up on you. On its way up here. It's going to get stuck right here. It's not going to have time to have turned and gotten far enough for that to hit where it's supposed to for the next half hour. See how it just hit on the tip? That'll be the half hour. And then that's the hour. I've got my fingers in the way over here of these pendulum wires, these pendulum levers, so it's not turning. But anyway, if you've taken this apart and put it back together, that's your starting reference point. The problem is you can't put it there and still be able to reach and put this on there. So you have to put it on there, run it around to where this is out of your way, and you can put this washer and C-arm on.